Horrid Henry's Crazy Ketchup by Francesca Simon. Read by Miranda Richardson. Horrid Henry and the Revenge of the Bogey Babysitter.
I challenge you to a name-calling competition, shrieked Rude Ralph, for the title of Champion Name-Caller of the Universe.
Ha! thought Horrid Henry. No one knew more rude names than Henry. Not even Rude Ralph. You're on, said Horrid Henry.
Woofy, pungy, smelly, whiffy, stinky, freaky, farty.
Said Ralph. Isn't a name? Crowed Henry. No, I am champion.
Shut up, I'm thinking, said Ralph. Poo breath, gloppy gloop, smell-o-vision, odoriferous. Odoriferous? That's not a word, said Ralph. Is too? Is not.
Webble pants.
Bath breath. Turkey head. Turkey head? Said Rude Ralph. Turkey head? That's not a...
Ding dong. Horrid Henry stopped jumping up and down on Ralph's bed.
Who's that?
Said Henry. Ralph shrugged. We're having a babysitter tonight, he said. Horrid Henry's eyes gleamed.
A babysitter? Yeah!
What could be better than a sleepover at Ralph's with a babysitter? He'd yet to meet one he couldn't tame. After all, he wasn't called the bulldozer of babysitters for nothing. A sitter meant hours of rampaging fun, especially as Ralph was bound to have one of those brilliant babysitters who let you stay up all night and eat biscuits till you were sick and watch scary movies on TV. The kind his mean, horrible parents never, ever got for him.
Great,
said Henry.
Who?
He hoped it would be Leafy Leon. He just sat with his headphones on doing his homework. Or Allergic Alice, who he'd heard was always too busy sneezing to see kids sneaking sweets. Or maybe,
oh please, Dippy Dora.
Margaret said Dora had spent the whole evening on her phone and hadn't even noticed when Margaret stayed up past midnight and ate all the ice cream in the freezer.
Dunno,
said Ralph. Mum didn't say. Probably Dora.
Yes,
thought Horrid Henry. And Mum's baked a chocolate fudge cake, said Ralph.
All for us,
said Henry.
Nah,
said Ralph. Just a slice each. Ralph looked at Henry. Henry looked at Ralph.
You thinking what I'm thinking?
Said Henry. Oh, yeah, said Ralph. They could guzzle the whole cake and blame it on the babysitter. What brilliant luck, thought Horrid Henry. Boy, he could taste that yummy, gooey, scrumptious chocolate cake already.
Stomp, stomp, stomp.
There was the sound of elephants trampling.
What was that?
Said Horrid Henry. Boom, boom, boom. The elephants were joined by a herd of stampeding rhinoceroses.
You don't think?
Whispered Henry.
It can't be,
whispered Ralph. The walls shook.
Henry gasped.
The ground shook. Ralph gulped. We'd better go and see, said Rude Ralph. Henry and Ralph crept down the stairs and peeked round the door.
Stomping towards them was the biggest, meanest, ugliest, hideously horrible teen Henry remembered from his worst nightmares. Enormous kid-mashing arms, check. Enormous spiky head, check. Enormous Henry-hating eyes and child-chewing fangs, check.
It was Rabid Rebecca, the bogey babysitter, risen from the swamp where she
Thrashed around with the Loch Ness Monster and the creature from the Black Lagoon. When you said you were having a babysitter, you never said it could be Rebecca,
hissed Horrid Henry.
I didn't know,
whimpered rude Ralph.
We're doomed,
moaned Horrid Henry.
Where's the food?
Bellowed Rabid Rebecca. Ralph's mum pointed to the kitchen. The boys can have a small slice of cake each, she trilled. Be good, she shouted over her shoulder as she escaped. Then Rebecca saw Henry. Henry saw Rebecca.
You,
said Rabid Rebecca. Her evil eyes narrowed. Me, said Horrid Henry. Last time he'd met Rabid Rebecca, they'd had a fight almost to the death. Henry had hoped never to have a rematch. Then he remembered her weakness.
Don't worry, she's scared of spiders,
whispered Henry.
All we have to do is find some... And don't get any ideas about spiders, said Rebecca. I brought my friend Rachel. Nothing scares her.
Horrid Henry gasped as a terrifying fiend cast a black shadow over the sitting room. Rancid Rachel was even tougher looking than Rabid Rebecca. Rancid Rachel glared at Henry and Ralph. Her fangs gleamed.
If I were you, I'd get straight upstairs to bed, growled Rachel. That way I won't step on you by mistake.
But what about my chocolate cake? Squeaked Ralph.
My mum said, our cake, you mean?
Said the bogey babysitters.
Don't you touch that cake!
Squeaked Ralph.
Yeah, said Horrid Henry, or else.
Rancid Rachel cracked her knuckles. Or else what? She snarled. Horrid Henry took a step back.
Ooh, doesn't that cake look yummy? Said Rachel. Don't you think, Bex? Yeah, said Rabid Rebecca. I can't wait to eat it. Nice of the brat's mum to leave it all for us. Now go to bed before we eat you! I'm not moving, said Horrid Henry. Yeah, said Rude Ralph. Make me! Get out of here!
Boomed the bogey babysitters,
exhaling their dragon breath.
Horrid Henry and Rude Ralph sat in his bedroom. They could hear the bogey babysitters cackling and laughing in the kitchen below.
We've got to stop them stealing all the cake, said Ralph. It's not fair.
I know, said Henry.
But how? Said Ralph. She told us to stay in bed.
So what? Said Horrid Henry. He scowled. There had to be something they could do to stop the crime of the century.
How? Said Ralph. Call the police?
Tempting, thought Horrid Henry. But somehow he didn't think the police would be too keen to race over and arrest two horrible babysitters for scoffing a cake.
We could tell Rebecca it's poisoned, said Ralph.
What, your mum made you a poisoned cake? said Henry. "Don't think they'd believe you." Rude Ralph hung his head.
"It's hopeless," said Ralph. "Now we won't get any."
No cake, no yummy chocolate cake dripping with fudgy frosting and studded with sweets.
Horrid Henry wasn't the squisher of sitters for nothing.
Wasn't there some film he'd seen or story he'd heard where...
"Get some keys and some string," said Henry. "And one of your dad's suits on a hanger. Hurry!"
"Why?" said Ralph.
"Do you want that cake or don't you?"
said Henry. "Now do exactly what I say." The blood-curdling scream echoed through the house. Trudge, trudge, trudge. Rabid Rebecca flung open Ralph's bedroom door. She glared at them, screaming and trembling in the corner, and flashed her child-chewing fangs.
"Stop screaming, you little creeps," snarled Rabid Rebecca, "or I'll give you something to scream about."
We saw, gasped Ralph.
"A headless ghost,"
gasped Henry.
"outside the window."
Rabid Rebecca snorted. "Yeah, right," she said. "Now shut up and go to sleep." She left, slamming the door behind her. "Go," said Horrid Henry. Horrid Henry ran into the kitchen, panting and gasping. There were the bogey babysitters huddled over the cake. One slice was already gone. Rabid Rebecca looked up, cake knife in hand.
"I smell a child,"
she hissed.
"What are you doing down here?" roared rancid Rachel. "Go away before we—"
"I'm scared," said Horrid Henry. "I heard a noise."
"You're just trying to make an excuse to get out of bed, you little worm," said Rebecca. "You better get out of here before I count to 3, bellowed Rachel, "or else." "There's something outside," said Henry. 1, 2...
Clink, clink, clink. The clinking noise was coming from outside the kitchen window. "There," whimpered Horrid Henry. He backed away.
"What was that?"
said Rebecca, the cake halfway to her drooling jaws.
"Nothing,"
said Rachel, shoving a huge bit in her mouth. Clink, clink, clink. Rachel stopped chewing.
"That,"
hissed Rabid Rebecca. "That clinking noise."
"I told you there's something outside,"
whispered Horrid Henry.
"Bang, bang, bang."
Rancid Rachel stood up.
"Oh, it's just the wind," she said. "Bang, bang, bang." "I'll show you," said Rachel. "I'm not scared."
She marched over to the window and drew back the curtain. There, in the dark, was a headless suit, flapping and rapping at the window.
"Ah!"
screeched Rebecca. She spat out her mouthful.
"Ah!"
screeched Rachel. She spat out her mouthful.
"It's a ghost! Hide!"
they howled, racing from the kitchen and clambering up the stairs.
"Go outside and see what it is!"
screamed Horrid Henry.
"No way!"
shrieked Rebecca. They barricaded themselves into the bathroom and locked the door. Horrid Henry snatched the cake off the cake stand and raced back to Ralph's room. Ralph was standing at the open window, dangling a hanger from a string with his dad's suit on it. Henry beamed at Ralph as he hauled in the suit and untied the keys he'd used to clink on the ground. Ralph beamed at Henry.
Good job, partner,
said Henry, helping himself to a gigantic piece of chocolate cake.
Boy, it was delicious. Good job, partner,
said Ralph, digging into an even bigger one.
Well, your mum be furious with Rebecca when she comes home and finds all the cake gone,
mumbled Henry, taking another enormous slice.
Boy, would she ever, said Ralph. I bet Rebecca never babysits here again.
Horrid Henry tells it like it is. Blah, blah, blah. Why, asked Horrid Henry, was he uniquely cursed? Why, of all the homework in the world, did he have to make a 5-minute movie about his yuck family instead of a thrilling film about mutant zombies or werewolf teachers? Ugh. His family was so boring. Horrid Henry yawned just thinking about them. He was a famous film director. He'd made the soon-to-be Hollywood classic, The Undead Demon Monster Who Would Not Die, and the sequel, The Revenge of the Undead Demon Monster Who Would Not Die. Part 3 would be coming soon. The Undead Demon Monster Who Would Not Die. This time, it's personal. He was an artist. A genius. How dare Miss Battleaxe tell a filmmaker like him what kind of movie to make? When he moved to Hollywood, he'd have Miss Battleaxe play a corpse in every film he made and do all her own stunts, falling out of a skyscraper, tightrope walking between 2 buildings, being caught in an avalanche.
Why couldn't he just make the film he wanted? He liked films about monsters and ghosts and aliens.
But no, their topic was all about my family, and that's what he had to do. Naturally, he'd left it to the last minute.
I need to borrow your camera,
said Henry after a revolting supper of vegetable bake with extra Brussels sprouts and fruit for, dessert.
I have to ask you questions about our family and film you. It's homework.
He scowled. Mum stopped stacking dirty plates. When's it due? Said Mum. Henry had hoped she wouldn't ask that.
Let me see.
Tomorrow, said Henry. Why do you always leave everything to the last minute? Said Dad. Wasn't it obvious? Who wanted to do boring homework when there were so many comics to read and so much good telly to watch and so many packs of crisps to eat? His parents were dummies.
I don't leave anything to the last minute, said Perfect Peter. I always do my homework the moment I get home from school.
Mum smiled at him. Quite right, Peter.
Shut up, Peter,
said Henry.
Mum, Henry told me to shut up, said Peter.
Don't tell your brother to shut up, said Mum.
I wouldn't have to if he wasn't so annoying, said Henry.
I'm not annoying, Henry's annoying, said Peter.
Horrid Henry laughed.
Why are you laughing? Said Peter.
I'm laughing at your wibble wobble pants, said Henry.
Peter looked down at his trousers.
I don't have wibble wobble pants, said Peter.
Do too.
Do not?
Do too, nappy noodle wibble wobble pants. Mum! Screamed Peter. Henry called me a nappy noodle and a wibble wobble pants. Don't be horrid, Henry, shouted Mum, or no filming. But it's for homework, shrieked Henry. Can we get on with this, said Dad. I'm very busy. All right, said Henry. I'll be quick. Boy, would he ever.
Just a few minutes and everyone's misery, especially his, would be over.
Do a sound check first, said Dad. Make sure it's loud enough and recording. OK, said Henry. He pointed the camera and switched it on. Say, disgusting, horrible, yuck, said Henry. Disgusting, horrible, yuck, said Dad. Henry pressed replay. Disgusting, horrible, yuck, came Dad's voice, loud and clear. This film is called All About My Family, said Henry, pointing the camera at Dad. Now, what to ask? What to ask? Thought Henry. Fat Fluffy started snoring in the corner. Dad, how would you describe our cat Fluffy? Dad paused. A big fatty, said Dad. To be honest, she really needs to lose weight. Why does she eat so much? Every time I see her, she's chomping away. Sound check, Mum, said Henry. Smelly, revolting, ick. Smelly, revolting, ick, said Mum. Henry pointed the camera at his mother, wiping the table. Mum, say 3 adjectives that describe you, said Henry. Oh, hard-working, kind, thoughtful, said Mum. I'd say mean, bossy and grumpy, thought Horrid Henry. Too bad he wasn't answering the questions. Who's your favourite child, Mum? Henry, snapped Mum. Don't be horrid. All right, said Henry, scowling. He was only trying to make things a bit more fun. What's your favourite undead monster? Afraid I don't have one, said Mum. Why did he have such boring parents? How could someone not have a favourite undead monster? Thought Henry. Dad, who's your eldest son? Henry. Who is your youngest son? Peter, said Mum, smiling. Definitely Peter, said Dad. Henry swiveled the camera to Peter. Peter beamed and waved.
Hello, said Peter. Do you want to see my bunnykins?
No, said Henry.
When are you going to interview me? Said Peter. I'm in your family.
Worse luck, muttered Henry. Now, Worm, to check the sound, can you say wibble wobble poopy pants? I don't want to say wibble wobble poopy pants, screamed Peter. Don't be horrid, Henry, said Dad. I don't want to hear any more wibble wobble poopy pants from you. Okay, said Horrid Henry. Say fantastic, marvellous, the best.
Fantastic, marvellous, the best, said Peter.
What's your name? Henry was practically falling asleep.
Peter, said Peter.
Who's your favourite teacher?
Miss Lovely.
Tell me about your wonderful brother Henry, said Henry. Peter paused.
Henry is my big brother, said Peter. He's mean to me.
Peter, said Mum.
Well, he is, and I want everyone to know.
And you're a worm, said Henry. Mum, wailed Peter. What do you think about my teacher, Miss Battleaxe? Said Henry, pointing the camera at Dad. She's brilliant, said Dad. Mum, wailed Peter again. Henry called me a worm. What do you think about Miss Lovely? Said Henry. The best teacher in the school, said Dad. Blah, blah, blah. That was surely enough. Horrid Henry switched off the camera. That's, great, said Henry. Not.
Horrid Henry sat on his bed and played back his film. It was even more boring than he'd feared. His reputation as a great filmmaker would be ruined. Wasn't there any way he could make it more interesting, more fun, more unique? Then Horrid Henry watched the film again. And again. What about if he jiggled things around a bit? After all, wasn't editing what set a film director apart from the crowd? Henry sat down at his computer and went to work. A little snip here, a little trim there. Right, everyone, face front, barked Miss Battleaxe. Graham, put those crisps away. Ralph, stop burping. Meg, stop shouting. Graham kept eating. Ralph kept burping. Megaphone Meg kept shouting. Miss Battleaxe mopped her brow. One day, she would wake up and this would all be a bad dream and she would be doing her real job, tap dancing on Broadway. We're going to watch All About My Family films, she said. Mine! Shrieked Megaphone Meg. Mine! Shrieked Fiery Fiona. Mine! Shrieked Zippy Zoe. I'll start with someone who is sitting beautifully. Miss Battleaxe peered round the class. The only person sitting beautifully was Moody Margaret, who was pretending she hadn't just pulled Sour Susan's hair when Miss Battleaxe wasn't looking. Miss Battleaxe pressed play. There was Margaret, looking like a hideous frog, as usual. She was wearing lipstick and a big bow in her hair.
All about my family,
said Moody Margaret.
but naturally this film is about the most interesting and important person in my family, me.
The camera swiveled.
So, Mum,
Said Margaret.
everyone wants to know, why am I the most amazing person who has ever lived in the history of the world?
Ooh, Maggie Moo Moo,
Said Margaret's mum.
I'm not sure 5 minutes is long enough to list all your wonderful qualities.
Horrid Henry mooed under his breath.
That's right, Maggie Plumpykins.
Said her dad.
We couldn't begin.
Obviously not, but hurry up and start.
Snapped Margaret, turning the camera back on herself.
You're the most beautiful, talented, clever, amazing, brilliant, remarkable, extra.
Rude Ralph belched. Don't be rude, Ralph, said Miss Battleaxe. Henry made a vomiting noise. Henry, I'm warning you. Blah, blah, blah. 5 long, horrible minutes of Margaret's parents bragging about her. It felt like 5 years. Yawn. When would they get to the star of the day? Now, Margaret, you can choose whose film we watch next, said Miss Battleaxe. Sour Susan smirked. Margaret swept her eyes over the class. Williams, she said. Miss Battleaxe pressed play. There was a shot of a white ceiling. Then the film zoomed down to a pair of feet. There was a bit of mumbling in the background. Then the sound of weeping. Wailed Weepy William. He burst into tears. I did it wrong! Bert's film was next.
I don't know.
Said Bert's mum.
I don't know.
Said Bert's dad.
I don't know.
Said Beefy Bert's brother. Miss Battleaxe frowned. Horrid Henry waved his hand frantically. All right, Henry, said Miss Battleaxe. She pressed play. The film opened in the kitchen. Mum, Dad and Peter were sitting smiling at the messy table.
Dad, how would you describe Mrs. Oddbod?
Came Henry's voice off camera.
A big fatty.
Said Dad.
To be honest, she really needs to lose weight. Why does she eat so much? Every time I see her, she's chomping away. Mum, say 3 adjectives that describe me.
Oh, hardworking, kind, thoughtful.
said Mum, beaming.
Mum, say 3 adjectives that describe Peter.
Smelly, revolting, ick.
said Mum,
What's your favourite undead monster? Peter.
said Mum,
Who's your favourite child, Mum? Henry.
shouted Mum,
Who is your best son?
asked Henry,
Henry.
said Dad,
Who is the most horrible person you know? Peter.
said Mum, smiling,
Definitely Peter.
said Dad. The camera switched to Peter. Peter smiled and waved,
Hello,
said Peter,
do you want to see my bunnykins?
No.
said Henry,
When are you going to interview me?
said Peter.
I'm in your family. What's your name?
Came Henry's voice over.
Wibble wobble poopy pants!
Yelled Peter,
Who's your worst teacher?
Miss Lovely.
Tell me about your wonderful brother Henry.
said Henry,
Henry is my big brother. He's fantastic, marvellous, the best.
Peter!
said Mum,
Well, he is. I want everyone to know.
said Peter,
What do you think about my teacher, Miss Battleaxe?
Smelly, revolting, ick.
said Mum,
What do you think about Miss Lovely? Wibble wobble poopy pants.
said Dad. Well, said Mrs. Oddbod, switching off her computer. Mum, Dad and Henry sat in her office. Mum and Dad looked like they wished a magic carpet would fly in and whisk them off to a faraway planet. Henry, how could you? Said Mum. We're shocked, said Dad. We're appalled, said Mum. Horrid Henry scowled. Honestly, was this the thanks he got for trying hard at homework for once? Geniuses are never recognised in their lifetime, thought Horrid Henry, sadly. Horrid Henry's Crazy Ketchup. Boys, shouted Mum up the stairs. Dinner's ready. Ralph, catch! Horrid Henry threw Fluff Puff, Peter's favourite plastic sheep, to Ralph. Rude Ralph caught it and threw it back to Henry over Peter's head. Give me back my sheep, said Perfect Peter. How much will you pay me, wormy worm? Said Horrid Henry. Mum! Screamed Perfect Peter. Henry stole Fluff Puff and he won't give him back, and he called me wormy worm. Telltale, hissed Henry. Fluff Puff flew through the air, a sheep in flight, and landed smack on the floor. Henry, shouted Mum, say sorry for calling Peter names and get down here now. Sorry I called you wormy worm, said Henry, when I meant to call you Poopsicle. Mum! Shrieked Peter. He picked up Fluff Puff and ran downstairs. Boys, for the last time, dinner's ready. Henry and Ralph stomped downstairs and sat at the table. What's for dinner? Said Horrid Henry. Cauliflower cheese, said Dad. Eek, said Henry. Yuck, said Ralph rudely. I hate cauliflower. I need ketchup. Yeah, said Horrid Henry. Me too. Ketchup makes everything taste great.
No ketchup for me, said Perfect Peter. It's much too sweet.
Mum smiled at Peter. It certainly is, said Mum. Ketchup has lots of sugar in it. Wow, thought Horrid Henry. Wow! Ketchup was even more wonderful than he'd thought. When he became a billionaire, with his top secret ketchup recipes, and naturally his own brand, Henry's Incredible Ketchup, he'd put in loads more sugar. Then it would taste even better. Mum reached for the sauce and squirted a teeny-weeny drop onto Henry's plate. Then she did the same to Ralph's plate.
That's not enough, Henry howled. I need more. I want ketchup on my ketchup. Yeah, said rude Ralph. Gimme more.
How could anyone eat cauliflower unless its horrible white knobbliness was covered in ketchup? And beans without ketchup? Or eggs without ketchup? Gross. Nothing could hide their horrible beaniness or revolting egginess, but ketchup helped. Don't be horrid, Henry, said Mum.
But I love ketchup, said Horrid Henry.
He loved the taste of ketchup. He loved the smell of ketchup. He loved the glug, glug, glug noise ketchup made as it slurped out of the bottle and plopped onto his plate. There was nothing that didn't taste a million, billion, trillion times better, covered in yummy, scrummy, crazy ketchup, the world's best brand. Every 100 years or so, when his mean, horrible parents took him to Brilliant Burger, he'd snatch loads of their crazy ketchup sachets to stash in his bedroom, just in case the world ended or all the ketchup factories burned down. Yum, 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 crazy ketchup. The nicest 2 words in the English language. Apart from chocolate, pizza, burger, chips, make your own hot fudge sundae and no school today. Unfortunately, Horrid Henry's parents hated ketchup. They hated the taste of ketchup. They hated the smell of ketchup. Most of all, they hated it when Henry wanted ketchup at every meal. But how else could he eat his parents' disgusting food? One day, Mum and Dad would find his skeleton in a corner, bony hands outstretched towards the fridge. Didn't they know you could die from lack of ketchup? My family eat everything with ketchup, said Ralph. Pasta with ketchup, mashed potatoes with ketchup, ice cream with ketchup. And I will squirt my own. I'm not a baby. See, said Henry. Mum made a face.
Everyone I know gets to squirt their own ketchup, wailed Horrid Henry. Everyone except me. I wish Ralph's parents were mine instead of you.
Mum looked at Dad. Dad looked at Mum.
No one I know squirts their own, said Perfect Peter. Little children always take too much.
Horrid Henry kicked Peter under the table.
Mum!
Squealed Peter.
Henry kicked me.
Didn't.
Did. It was an accident, said Horrid Henry. I was just stretching my legs. I can't help it if yours got in the way. What's for dessert? Said Ralph rudely, pushing away his plate.
Fruit salad, said Mum.
Blech, said rude Ralph. I'm not eating dinner here again.
Horrid Henry lay on his bed reading a Mutant Max comic and scoffing a few biscuits from his top secret tin. Knock, knock. Henry leapt up and ran to his desk.
I'm doing my homework, he said.
Mum and Dad peeped round the door. Maybe we've been too strict, said Mum.
What?
Thought Henry.
We'll try it tomorrow and see, said Dad. Try what? Said Horrid Henry, scowling. Some yucky new food? Making him do even more chores? Living without TV?
Try letting you squirt your own ketchup, said Mum.
Henry's jaw dropped. Was it possible that his parents had actually listened? That for once in his life he was getting his own way? Had aliens taken over their bodies? But Horrid Henry wasn't going to ruin everything by asking. Ketchup, 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 here I come, he crowed. Oh, happy, happy day. Sniff, sniff, sniff. Horrid Henry stopped turning all of Peter's sheep upside down. What was that yummy smell? Henry sniffed again. Chips, thought Horrid Henry. He could smell their lovely frying golden goodness all the way upstairs. They were actually having chips with dinner. On the first day that the new squirt your own ketchup rules applied. What luck! For once, his chips would be swimming in a ketchup bath. Oh, yeah! And he'd be sure to steal loads of Peter's when he wasn't looking. Tee-hee. Horrid Henry dropped Fluff Puff on his head and galloped down the stairs. Oh, wow! Even better! Fish fingers and chips! Unfortunately, Dad was sure to ruin everything and make peas too, but he could disguise their hideous green taste by drowning them in yummy scrummy ketchup. Speaking of which, Horrid Henry looked in the fridge. No ketchup. He flung open the cupboard. No ketchup. He checked on the table, behind the toaster, and on top of the counter. Had Mum hidden it? Had Dad secretly guzzled it? Had the thing Horrid Henry dreaded most in all the world actually happened? Henry's blood ran cold. His heart stopped beating. His nose stopped breathing. His legs collapsed under him. Where's the ketchup? Gasped Horrid Henry. I'll starve without it. How can we run out of ketchup? You said I could pour my own and now there's no ketchup to pour. No! Stop being horrid, Henry, said Mum. It's on the table. Right in front of your nose, said Dad, opening the oven and taking out the fish fingers and chips. Horrid Henry stopped howling and sat down in his chair. A brown plastic bottle with a big picture of a smiling, speckled tomato stood on the table. What's that? Said Henry suspiciously. Ketchup, said Mum. No, it isn't, said Henry. It's just as tasty, said Dad. Horrid Henry squinted at the bottle. Ketchup, tomato ketchup, read the label. Horrid Henry recoiled as if a poisonous hydra had just reared its 9 heads. Ick! Said Henry. He made a gagging noise. This has tomatoes in it. I want real ketchup. I want crazy ketchup. All ketchup has tomatoes in it, said Mum. No way, said Horrid Henry. He hated tomatoes. He knew it was called tomato ketchup, but he just thought it was referring to ketchup being red. Not that there were actual, real tomatoes in it. Go ahead, try some, said Mum, serving up the chips. You can pour your own. Horrid Henry squirted a great big fat blob onto his pirate plate. It wasn't a lovely, thick, red, ketchup-y blob. This blob was brown, watery, oily. It oozed on the plate. "It looks horrible!" screamed Henry. "How can you tell until you try it?" said Mum. Horrid Henry screwed up his face and took a teeny, tiny taste. He spat it out. "It's horrible! I can taste the tomatoes and vegetables." "This is organic, healthy, sugar-free ketchup," said Mum.
Sounds yummy, said Perfect Peter. I can't wait to try some.
"Shut up, Peter," said Henry. "Mum!" wailed Peter. "Henry told me to shut up." "I want crazy ketchup!" screamed Horrid Henry. "Give me real ketchup!"
This is real ketchup, said Peter.
He reached for the bottle. "No, it isn't!" shouted Henry. "Does this look like ketchup to you?" Horrid Henry snatched the bottle from Peter. Peter tried to yank it back. "Henry, Peter, stop fighting!" screamed Mum, grabbing the bottle. "Give me that ketchup," said Dad. Squeeze, splat, plop, glop. Ketchup landed on Mum's head. Ketchup landed on Dad's face. Ketchup splattered on Peter's jumper and Henry's shirt. There was ketchup on the floor, there was ketchup on the door, there was ketchup on the ceiling. Mum, Dad, Peter and Henry were covered in ketchup. "Egg!" yelled Mum. "Take your plates and go to your rooms, both of you," yelled Dad. "What?" wailed Peter. Ketchup dribbled down Mum's face. She licked her lips. "This tastes horrible," she said. Dad wiped some ketchup off his face and licked his finger. He scowled. "Ugh," he said. "That's revolting." "See?" said Horrid Henry. "Told you!" Horrid Henry sat on his bed, drowning his chips in sachet after sachet of his emergency crazy ketchup stash. He knew he'd been right to stockpile it. Crazy ketchup and chips! Was there anything better to eat in the whole wide world? And, oh yes, he had the feeling that crazy ketchup would be back in his kitchen very soon. Horrid Henry's chicken. Oh, joy! Oh, rapture! It was the last day of school before the Easter break. Henry had been counting down the weeks, then the days, the hours, the minutes. No more school. No more Miss Battleaxe. No more homework. Hello, telly. Hello, crisps. Hello, pyjamas all day. And hello, April Fool's Day soon. Henry had great plans. Salt in the sugar bowl, moving all the clocks forward, mixing shampoo with grass, and making Peter think Fat Fluffy had thrown up. A few pop-pop snapper crackers on the loo seat, hanging Peter's underpants on his overhead light. Yippee! Nothing could spoil his happiness. Nothing, nothing, nothing.
Not even if Mum insisted he play with Peter every single day. Not even if... Squawk, squawk, squawk. Horrid Henry scowled, and then he beamed. The holidays meant he wouldn't have to hear that horrible chicken cackle for 2 whole weeks. Why couldn't his class have a rabbit or a guinea pig or a goldfish as a class pet? Instead, they had a chicken. Not just any chicken, a horrible chicken. A huge, horrible, evil chicken. Her name was Dolores. Ugh. Henry trembled just thinking about her mean, chickeny eyes and her pointy, chickeny feet and her fiery, chickeny breath. Horrid Henry was afraid of nothing except injections. The biggest snake? Phooey. The hairiest spider? Bah. But Horrid Henry was terrified of... Shh. Chickens. This was Henry's deepest, darkest secret. Who's scared of a chicken? Who was so chicken they were scared of a chicken? Even anxious Andrew happily fed Dolores. But Horrid Henry was sure Dolores was out to get him. Whenever he walked past her coop, she glared. Henry had nightmares about her chasing him with her jabbing, stabbing, pecking beak. Eek! Henry shuddered and poked Ralph. "I dare you to burp," whispered Henry. "Stop burping, Ralph," snapped Miss Battleaxe. "I have an important announcement," she added, fixing them with her Medusa glare. "Sad, as I know you all are, not to be in school for such a long time." As if, thought Horrid Henry. "I'm happy to tell you that one lucky person will be having Dolores for the holidays." "I want her!" screamed Moody Margaret. "I want her!" screamed Inky Ian. "I want her!" drooled Greedy Graham. "Oh!" grunted Stone Age Stephen. "This wouldn't happen in Norway," said Norwegian Norris. "Silence!" roared Miss Battleaxe. "I put all your names into a hat, and the winner gets Dolores." Horrid Henry picked up his pencil and started drawing a monster dangling Miss Battleaxe from its acid-dripping mouth, all over his spelling test. Phew, he was safe. He never won anything. Who knew being unlucky would pay off one day? Miss Battleaxe reached into the hat. "And the lucky person having Dolores is," said Miss Battleaxe, peering at the slip of paper, "Henry." "What?" wailed Weepy William. "What?" said Henry. He stopped drawing daggers. What was she telling him off for now? "You've got Dolores," said Miss Battleaxe. What? He had Dolores? Deadly Dolores? The foulest foul on the planet? That monster in feathers? That demented demon? Horrid Henry opened his mouth to scream, "No, I don't want her!" Then he shut his mouth. What if someone suspected his terrible secret? That he, Horrid Henry, the terror of teachers, the squisher of sitters, the fearless leader of a pirate gang, was scared of a chicken. He'd never hear the end of the teasing and squawking. Dolores glared at Henry. Henry glared at Dolores. Was it his imagination, or was she already sharpening her beak? Henry gulped. Actually, why was he worried? His mean, horrible parents would never let him have a chicken. He'd bring her home and then Mum would make him take her straight back to school. So What fun, a chicken, said Mum. Yum, yum, think of all the fresh eggs we'll be having, said Dad. Henry, I expect you to take good care of her, said Mum. That means cleaning out her box and letting her roam in the garden during the day as well as feeding her. Horrid Henry could scarcely breathe. Was Mum insane? He could just about cope with throwing some corn at Dolores from a safe distance, but Mum wanted him to clean up chicken poo? Dolores would be lying in wait for him, his last moments on Earth, covered in chicken poo, while a marauding chicken whacked him limb from limb. Horrid Henry avoided deadly Dolores for as long as he could. No pocket money and no TV until you take care of that chicken, said Dad. Later, said Henry. His heart was pounding. Right now, said Mum. No more excuses, said Dad.
I always clean out Fluffy's litter box without being asked,
said Perfect Peter.
Then why don't you sleep in it, you poopy pants worm?
said Henry. Mum! wailed Peter. Henry called me a poopy pants worm. Stop being horrid, Henry, and clean out that chicken, said Mum. The eggs will go rotten if you don't collect them, said Dad. Eggs, 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 said Peter. We want eggs. Eggs? Who cared about eggs? While they were all fussing about eggs, he'd be pecked to death by Dracula chicken. Okay! Screamed Horrid Henry. Serve them right when they went looking for him, and all that was left was a shoe and some bones. Blood-sucking, cackling chicken, muttered Henry. Bet she really did belong to Dracula. Bet her real name was Cacula. Slowly, he walked towards the little red hen house at the end of the garden, carrying fresh straw, some old newspaper, and a rake. Ugh. Blech. Gross. Clean out the hen house. Clean out the hen house. He, Henry, have to touch chicken poo? No! Henry was sure Cacula did it on purpose. Surely no normal chicken could make such a mess. She did it to lure him closer. The moment he touched her straw, he knew she'd charge at him, wielding her terrifying beak and scratching claws. Cacula didn't eat corn and grubs. Cacula ate Henry's! Horrid Henry peeked in through the chicken wire. Maybe he could take her by surprise, he thought. But no, there she was, lying in wait, her evil eyes glinting. Horrid Henry trembled and stepped back. Then he squared his shoulders. What was he, a man or a chicken? Chicken, he squeaked. I will not be defeated by a chicken named Dolores, he thought. He opened the henhouse door. The teensiest, weasiest bit. Squawk! 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 A stinky, smelly blast hit him in the face as deadly Dolores reared off her perch. Henry slammed the henhouse door shut. He stood there gasping and panting. Wow! What a lucky escape from death by chicken! He might not be so fortunate next time. There was no way he was going near that murderous beast. But what to do? What to do? He could hardly admit he was, scared of a chicken. And even if, by some miracle, he survived, who wanted to spend their precious holidays clearing up chicken poo? When he was king, all chickens would be banned unless they were wrapped in cellophane or coated in breadcrumbs. His holiday was ruined.
Chick, 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 cooed a little voice behind him. I've got a lovely treat for you.
went Dolores, pretending to be a sweet, friendly fowl.
Peter's here, you lovely, fluffy little chicken, cheeped Peter. Can I collect the eggs, Henry?
No, said Henry automatically.
Please?
No,
Why?
said Peter. Suddenly, Henry froze. What if he could get Peter to do his dirty work for him? That would be the best, the greatest trick ever in the history of the world. No, the universe. Henry beckoned Peter closer and whispered in his ear. I can't let you because they're magic eggs. But if you tell anyone, you'll be mashed to smithereens, said Henry.
What do you mean they're magic eggs?
Said Peter. Keep your voice down, hissed Henry. Just what I said. So no way are you going near my magic chicken.
How do you know she's magic?
Said Peter. You've read Jack and the Beanstalk, haven't you? Said Henry. Well, Dolores is related to that chicken, except she lays chocolate eggs. Chocolate eggs? Said Peter. How can she lay chocolate eggs? Henry shrugged. How can she lay eggy eggs? She's not the only magic chicken in the world, you know. Where do you think all the chocolate eggs come from? But because I'm such a nice brother, I'll share the eggs with you.
You will?
Said Peter. But on one condition. You clean out the hen house. You get to keep the eggs.
All the chocolate eggs? Said Peter. Every single one?
Yeah,
Said Henry.
OK, said Peter. Thought Henry. What a worm his brother was. Tricking him was so much fun. Really, he should do it more often. Peter approached the hen box and reached inside. Henry, naturally, had an answer ready for when Peter found it empty. Duh, of course there aren't any magic eggs yet, he'd say. You'd have to clean out her nest first. She's not going to lay a chocolate egg in a poo house, is she? That way, he'd get Peter to muck out the hen house for the entire holiday, hoping to get magic eggs. Ha! Sorted. He was a genius. His plan was perfect. No more poo, no more Dolores. TV! Here I come! Thought Horrid Henry. Perfect Peter squealed.
Look what I found,
Said Peter. He held out his hand.
There's loads and loads and loads of them.
Perfect Peter was holding a chocolate egg. Huh? What? How could this be? Could there really be? Horrid Henry forgot he was scared of chickens. Horrid Henry forgot Cacula was out to get him. Horrid Henry shoved Peter aside and pushed the squawking Dolores off her nest. There in the straw was a huge, glistening pile of gleaming chocolate eggs. Come get us, Henry, cooed the eggs. Out of my way, worm! Shrieked Henry. But you said... Shrieked Peter. That was then! Screamed Henry, shoving Peter out of the way. They're all mine! Mine! Screamed Peter. Mine! Screamed Henry. Give me those eggs or the giant will get you, said Henry. What giant? Said Peter. I told you. Dolores belongs to the giant in Jack and the Beanstalk. He'll be coming for her. And then for you! I don't think so, said Peter. He backed away, holding onto his egg. And do you know why? No, snarled Horrid Henry, blocking Peter and snatching chocolate eggs from the nest as fast as he could. He felt like dancing for joy. He had a magic chicken. He'd find a way to keep Dolores. He'd tell Miss Battleaxe they'd eaten her for Sunday lunch by mistake. Then he'd have chocolate forever.
Horrid Henry hugged himself. He could set up a shop. Henry's amazing chocolate eggs. People would come for miles to buy his chocolate and peek at his magic chocolate egg-laying chicken. He'd charge them £100 just to look at Dolores. He'd be rich, rich, rich! April Fool! Shouted Peter. April Fool! Shouted Mum. April Fool! Shouted Dad. Squawk! Cackled Dolores, ruffling her feathers. Oh no. Horrid Henry had been so anxious about Dolores, he'd completely forgotten about April Fool's Day. We thought you'd never find them, said Mum. What took you so long? Said Dad. I tricked you, Henry, said Perfect Peter. He couldn't believe it. For once, he'd played a trick. Horrid Henry stood still. His mind whirred. But Horrid Henry was not the fearless leader of a pirate gang for nothing. In your dreams, worm, said Horrid Henry, stuffing a chocolate egg in his mouth. I was just pretending to believe you. He patted Dolores on the head. She wasn't magic, but she wasn't a monster. Why on earth had he ever been scared of her? He'd deal with Peter later. No one tried to trick Horrid Henry and lived to tell the tale. Screams came from Peter's bedroom. Henry threw down his comic and ran to see. There was Peter, covered in gooey raw egg and holding a chocolate-covered shell. Goop dribbled down his chin and shirt and splattered onto his shoes. Squealed Peter. April Fool! Shrieked Horrid Henry.